Setting it up. And we are live.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Well, welcome everyone. Um,
Hi, everyone.
welcome, welcome to Through the Portal. Together, we'll step across the threshold into vision, creativity, and the deepest stories waiting to emerge. Today, I have Makenzie Darling, the founder of Movement Maker, a collective for visionary leaders and aspiring change makers. Welcome, Makenzie.
Thanks, Maria. So wonderful that you have me here. I'm really excited this is my first live, so I'm excited.
Nice. Yeah, this is my very second, so still
Nice,
fresh.
amazing. You're crossing your own threshold, your own portal.
I am. I am. All right. So, Mackenzie, why don't we start with kind of you giving a little bit of kind of who you are, what you do, what kind of is the essence or the heartbeat of your current work right now?
Yeah. So I'm the founder of Movement Maker, as you said, and it's really a collective of visionaries to meet this moment in time. We're at a really threshold moment where important decisions are here to be made, and we need to be dreaming into a new future as our realities are collapsing around us. We need to be bringing in a more sacred and a more holistic and a more justified world. And so I'm trying to answer that call. My background, I spent about 10 years in movement building. And so I worked with various different NGOs and organizations doing campaigns around how do we instill more justice, kindness, humility, beauty in the world. And then I also spent about the last 5 years deeply steeped in the psychedelic renaissance, becoming an entheogenic minister, going through a 2 year seminary training program, and then also traveling the world and working with different, ancient, indigenous cultures to learn ancient wisdom. And so my work really is to help spiritual leaders and spiritual entrepreneurs and servant leaders who are really feeling called at this moment to step into leadership and to help birth this new earth. I have created this 5 month program called the Movement Maker Incubator, which really fuses modern strategy with ancient wisdom for them to be able to step in and build their offering and create movement coalitions and learn more a little bit about movement marketing because marketing gets a really bad rep for a good reason. And movement marketing, I think, is something that is stepping into more consciousness of co-creative energy, and really looking at legacy and looking at, what are we building? What's the world we're going to build for the next 500 years? And then on top
Mhm.
of that, just if that's not enough information, I also help people find their dharma and find their purpose. And so if people are in this liminal space where I think a lot of people are waking up to this like American dream capitalist society, it's like, wait a minute, actually isn't working for me. And I want to bring my light into the world. I want to bring my gifts into the world. I mean, Maria, you have that story yourself, right? I mean, and you're
Mhm.
stepping in. You're a perfect example of an artist who's stepping into their gifts and finding their gifts and shining their light in the world. And so that's really what I do. I have a 3 month coaching program that I work with people in that liminal space of like, okay, let's get clear on your dharma, clear on your purpose, and clear on your messaging and who are you here to bring light to the world.
Awesome. So, if you dig a little bit deeper, why do you think this is important for you personally to do this work?
Oh man. I mean, how long is the show? Um, yeah, yeah. It's really interesting. So for me, It's hard for me to answer this question because it's such a rich one. For me, I've found that there are seven different archetypes here that are here to birth the new earth. Some of them right off the top of my head are like systems disruptors, alchemists, sacred rebels, creative visionaries, the trickster. There might be one or two, the mystics, and uh, the archetype that I resonate with the deepest is the alchemist. And I think at the real level of what I've built here with Movement Maker is I've turned all my pain into power. So, from a very young age, I actually went in fourth grade and talked to my parents, asking them if I could go see a therapist because I could really feel the dissonance and something wrong within my ancestral line. And I had this calling of like, I am here to be the light of my lineage. I am the cycle breaker. And I had that feeling from a really, really young age. And so I actually walked dogs in my neighborhood to pay for my first therapy session. And I've really been on this like transformational journey ever since. Little did I know that it would bring me into the Amazon jungle working with Shipibo healers and like, this little girl from
Wow.
Cleveland, Ohio. And it's really, been this transformational journey. And underneath the Movement Maker Incubator, it's actually a program of ancestral healing and wisdom. I think that this is something that people are missing, that really everything comes down to ancestral healing and wisdom. I think, this collective dark night, this planetary dark night of the soul that we're in is because we haven't mourned the grief of what our ancestors have passed down. And we're also so disconnected from the unseen world and the support and the wisdom and the strength that they've given us too. We can hold both of those complexities at the same time. And so, my program really is a offering to my ancestors. It's also a reparation of how to make things that have been passed down corrected. And it's also a call to return to the sacred, calling out that like we're done with business as usual. We need to be looking at things from a movement perspective because that's more holistic and that's just morally right.
Hmm. Yeah, so the Movement Maker program, what do you think, what kind of change or what kind of feeling does it give people and what do they do with that? Like what's really the vision for the participants, right?
Yeah. Well, I think to look at the vision, we have to look a little bit to the past. So why I also created this was I was working, building a lot of movements, but realizing that the leaders had a lot of internal work to do. With movement building, with a lot of responsibility comes a lot of power, right? Or with a lot of power comes a lot of responsibility. And so I think the Movement Maker Incubator was born, and I learned about what good leadership looks like through what bad leadership is. And unfortunately, I think that most of us have been this has been normalized. Control and power and leading from trauma and all of these things. And so even the conscious leaders, who have done a ton of work. I mean, I've done a ton of work, as I said, since fourth grade. I've been in therapy. Um, but really, it wasn't until I stepped into my own leadership and my own movement where all of my ancestral burdens came meeting me. I had to really walk past my people pleasing. I had to really walk past, and own my own power. I think, especially for like empaths and highly sensitive people and women that are being called into leadership right now, this is really deep wiring that we have to rewire here. And so I think
Hmm.
that that is a big part of the Movement Maker Incubator. And then I also think, it's interesting because part of the incubator is really weaving these different archetypes together. I think that mystics have been in their own conversations, systems disruptors have been in their own silos here. And to actually birth the new earth, we need to be bringing this modern strategy and ancient wisdom together. And so for the systems disruptors, they're going to be pushed in this program because we start off with the first module around connection to source and building an altar. And you're really, in communion with your movement as an entity of its own throughout the entire program. And that's like mind blowing to people coming in from the tech world and things like that, right? But for the
Mhm.
mystics, it's like, well, this is, an everyday thing for me. And then we get into the modern strategy where I'm building frameworks and I'm talking about how to use AI and technology and how to scale and how to, build frameworks that are ethical and of this time. And that's really going to push the mystics or push the bridge walkers or push these people that have been more in the spiritual realm. And so I'm here to teach, but I'm also here really just to hold space to watch these brilliant people in their own rights, be able to connect and help bridge those divides.
Mhm. Yeah, you talked about modules. Is this are they those two modules, or is it? Can you give me a little bit of an overview of that
An arc,
kind of
yeah,
arc?
that's
Yes.
another. So there are 22 modules in this program.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's a really it's probably the most holistic movement maker, movement building program out there. I've done my own market research on this and like I'm not seeing anyone who has built a program like this. So it starts off with like really talking about the foundations. And I'm a entheogenic minister and I'm also a
Can you
an
define that? I don't think I've heard that word before.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So it's basically a psychedelic guide, but I am part of holding this work in a religious, spiritual context. So, a lot of times people can hold psychedelic guide or psychedelic assisted therapist more from a clinical view, but I hold it more of from a spiritual connection to the divine view. So I call myself an entheogenic minister, and I also graduated from a 2-year seminary training program. So that's what we call ourselves. And then I also am an Enneagram facilitator. And so for people that don't know that, that's a kind of a ancient roadmap that has been used in various traditions that has 9 different archetypes of people that show their core motivations and the roadmap to how to, for transformation. And so it's a really strong framework, especially for leadership development. And so I bring that in because I interweave the Enneagram also throughout the entire program. And that really makes it, we have a cohort of people, but it also allows for really individualized leadership development work because you're able to really hone in on your number and your own pathway to transformation. So we start
Hmm.
off the program with phase one is the foundational work. We do a Enneagram workshop to kind of get you up and running on that. And then we do the modules are connection to source. We talk about power structures and how will you manage your own power as well as set up the power of your organization. We talk about energy management because for most people that are birthing movements, they have a really hard time managing their calling and managing their humanness. I'm speaking from direct
Hmm.
experience myself. Um, yeah, and then I think that's for the foundation. And then we work into the next, which is building the vessel. And so I help them build their signature program, how to do their pricing modules. And then we go into amplification, where I talk about that movement marketing. I help them build movement coalitions, partnerships. We work on public relations. We work on finding your audience and like messaging. And most importantly, we talk about like what is your sacred why and what is going to keep you tethered to this calling of yours because it ain't easy, right?
Right. Well,
Uh,
that's part of what I'm doing too. It's like giving a little piece of this tether, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's a really, really, holistic program. And I think the last part that we talk about is legacy and sustainability. Like, movements aren't really about you. And
Hmm.
so what's the legacy that you're going to leave that your movement will still be around in 500 years? So how can you
Right.
decentralize this?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And bring others in. Do you talk about kind of like, well, you said leadership, so you talk about, working with other people and how to um, get other people motivated and make sure they're aligned, okay? Keep the cohesion.
Yeah, and that's like just kind of sprinkled in every single one of the modules, but I'll also say something that I forgot to mention that we were talking about before was in that foundational piece. The first module is around connection to source, which I mentioned, which is really going to fuel your whole movement. Um, and then the second one is I call it bloodline to blueprint. So again,
Mm-hmm.
it's that ancestral healing piece where you're looking back and you're like, okay, what are the patternings here? And how can I make sure that those don't get implemented again back into my movement? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then throughout every single module, we're kind of revisiting, for instance, when we're talking about creating your payment or your pricing module, we talk about like what is your relationship to money in your ancestral line actually? Like how does self-worth show up? What are your money wounds? Things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's all about leadership, sprinkled throughout every single module, but it's done at a much, much deeper level than most leadership programs look at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, one of the things that came to mind is, you're talking about the leaders and the movement makers, but if you're in a movement, right? If you build a movement, you're not in a vacuum, right? The movement consists of multiple people. You're not, it's just not one, it's not a one person thing, right? So I think that, you know, that is probably also a pitfall, right? Working with other people in your movement.
Oh, I mean, it is the pitfall. It is, you cannot grow a movement. And again, this is where movement making really is so much about your own internal work and your ancestral work, because that really boils down to safety. Like, how
Mhm.
safe do you feel in community development? What's your relationship to, again, that people pleasing or conflict management, or, you have to have a lot of capacity, and capacity is the word, to be able to hold, especially in today's climate with this cancel culture and people really holding on to their ideas of what truth is. And I
Yeah,
think
individualism.
it's, yeah, and I think in today's society, the movement makers, one of the biggest things that they will have to do is hold complexity and be able to stand in the middle and be able to hold a wider aperture for these kinds of things. And so absolutely we talk a lot about that. And I don't think movement making probably has ever been so difficult actually up until now
Hmm.
because of this, the
The
this
culture
what
right
we're
now,
in.
yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, especially on the in the Western side, yeah, for sure. So you said you're in the second cohort right now? Is that did I hear that right?
Yeah, so I did my first cohort and got amazing testimonials, and people just really loved it and really enjoyed. A lot of them mentioned they're like they've been through other similar programs, but many of them mention like that was just funnels and clicks and how to get people into their program. Like this really felt more like a crucible, like
Mhm.
a forge that was like, oh wow, this is a spiritual initiation. And that's really what this is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, going forward, what's your vision? What do you see, where do you see this, your work
Yeah.
and your life?
Wow, that's a big question. Um, well, first I think for a couple years, so when I was in the 2-year seminary training program to become an entheogenic minister, this idea started percolating inside of me. Because I part of becoming a psychedelic guide, if you're becoming, a good self psychedelic guide and an ethical psychedelic guide, is that you go through supervision and mentorship. It's actually just part of you becoming a guide, very similar to someone becoming a therapist, right? Uh,
Mhm.
and I just felt like there was so much support baked in for these guides. But then I saw a lot of these leaders that were leading these movements that were making pretty unethical decisions. And I'm like, wait a minute. So if we are creating supervision and mentorship for guides who are usually working one-on-one with someone, why do we not actually have an organization where like movement makers are held with their peers and bringing in case studies around like, hey, this happened in my community. And, someone else can come in and be like, great, I have an awesome framework for that. Similar thing happened. Let's talk about it. Right. And then also
Mhm.
having mentors, because I think a lot of the time we are so isolated, and it can feel really overwhelming with our vision. I mean, I know personally, I've had this calling for a really long time, but like it just felt so, who am I to teach people how to build movements? Like that is,
Mhm.
I still feel very strange when people ask me, so what do you do? It's like, well, how do I explain that one? Um, so my hope is that I kind of create a home for these people that are really living all in lives. Like it is a consuming call to be able to devote your life as an offering to something greater than you and to find the
Mhm.
others, like Timothy Leary said, of like, wow, okay, we are here for a sacred purpose. So I think finding that belonging, finding that mentorship and supervision. I would love to start creating retreats where we can come and, different luminaries will be talking about movement making and birthing this new earth. And I think that's something that's really missing right now, actually, is there's a lot of complaining happening, but there's not a lot of dreaming happening. Like, where
Mhm.
are we going to be dreaming into what we want to build? And so that's part of Movement Maker too, is bringing these luminaries together and being like, all right, the world's collapsing. What are we building?
Yeah. What do
And
you
then
want
lastly, I
to?
think it's really important to have similar language around, you know, just leadership and ethics and more processes around that. But having it done from a higher level, from a spiritual level, because I think we're there now. Like something about movement makers, which I talk about in my incubator, it can be very difficult because you're usually ahead of your time. And so when you're talking about marketing, it's actually
Mhm.
more of educating. Like I'm finding a lot that I'm talking about, well, what is a movement? People are like, wait a minute, I'm not a movement maker. I'm not building a movement. And I'm like, well, maybe you are. I think a lot of these people who even, work with individual people are part of a much larger movement right now. And the movement is
Mhm.
raising consciousness and returning to the sacred.
Yeah. 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 Wonderful. Well, I mean, with my art, that's kind of that's like my vision is to really help visionaries, and I would consider you one, to not only imagine their vision or like strategize or imagine it or dream in a way, yes, but really go into this inner space and experience it on a more somatic, subconscious level, symbolic level, right? That's again the connection to the spiritual realm, right? And and then interpreting that in art to give a sacred anchor, right? It's a mirror, it's an anchor, something we talked about a tether before. So that's really that, connecting in visuals to the sacred why and to your vision. Because sometimes, if you go different levels of perception, right, it brings a more holistic connection to your vision, right? Not just your plan, not just your strategy, not just your mind, but also this um, more symbolic level. And the visual, that's what I find, is a visual is obviously a good um, trigger, but I would call it a glimmer. I think that's a new term that was coined as like the positive trigger, right? Because triggers are often um, have like this negative connotation.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's really like an altar piece, right? That's kind of what my art is, and that's
Yeah,
what we went
no,
through.
it's
That's
so,
what we went through.
yeah, it's so needed what you're doing. And yeah, it's one of my key values of Movement Maker. I've got five of them, but one of them is embodied wisdom.
Mhm.
'Cause I think a lot of, and it depends again, kind of what archetype you come into. I certainly know that like the systems disruptors and the creative visionaries can sometimes be all very much in their heads, and we need to be dropping down. And in my podcast, The Call to Rise, like pretty much every single luminary that I'm talking to is you need to slow down and you need to return to your body and return to your heart. I actually just interviewed the ex-CEO from HeartMath, and their whole movement is that heart coherence, getting back into the heart. And I think that that really is what a movement is, right? Like a business is the head and the movement is the heart. Um, and I love that you really have, when we worked together, which I loved, is you had me slowing down. You had it become more embodied. Um, and yeah, I loved the meditations. And even in my own, movement maker incubator, as I said, the first session is that connection with source. And I have people do a meditation where they're communing with the spirit of their business. And then I have them paint or write or whatever kind of, artistic expression wants to come through. And it's interesting because some people like love that. They're like, wait a minute, I only get 10 minutes to do, Maria, you would probably be one of those people. Like, wait a minute, I want 2 hours to finish. And other people are like itchy and uncomfortable because they're not used to that. And that's, as I was a painting major back in college. And so I get the painting process, the artistic process, where the more you do it, the more flow it just comes, right? And unfortunately, we've been so disconnected from that in this westernized world specifically that it's something that we need to just learn to reconnect to.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, making art is a mindfulness practice by itself, for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So for anyone listening, Mackenzie and I, we went through my one-on-one embodied vision portal experience. And usually in these live sessions, what I want to do, what I did with the last one, is kind of a small version of the meditation we went through. We went through a full, like it probably was like half hour just for the meditation. So I want to do a small one, and then I usually do a small sketch um, afterwards of like one core element. Now with you, because you went through a one-on-one, Still do the meditation, so you can go back to the space, that you've found and created in yourself. And then I'm going to show everyone the painting I made, which is not finished, and it's going to go out tomorrow.
Yay!
Yay! And then we can talk a little bit about what's in there, what's in your vision, what some of the symbols and what they mean to you. And I think that will give people also a little bit closer, deeper look into what you're all about and what your work is for.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So if you're ready, you can close your eyes, and everyone listening can join in as well. So we're going to just comfortably sit. Nothing, you don't need to breathe a certain way. Just sit and put your awareness on your body. Feel where you're connected to your seat. Feel your arms maybe resting on your knees. Feel the ground under your feet, the sturdy earth holding us all the time. And then I just want you to breathe a few deep breaths in and out. And every time you exhale, I want you to just feel into your body where you can feel any tensions, maybe the shoulders, and then just try and soften the tension. Breathe in, and when you breathe out, soften the tension. There's nothing you need to do. You're right here, right now. Nothing to worry about in the past or the future at this moment. Let's just come into the moment and into your body and just be. Relaxing, breathing. That's all you do. Nothing else. Feel the support, the space around you. Let's do a couple more breaths. With the next inhale, I want you to breathe into your heart. Imagine warm, glowing energy, like a ball of energy in your heart space, where all your love, your passion, your connection to your fellow people and the earth and the universe, that's where it is. Breathe into there. Collect all the energy. A few more breaths. Then I want you to open a gentle channel of energy from your heart to the space between your eyes, your third eye, where your vision sits, where you receive, where you can see the unseen. And let's breathe into that space, still connected with a nice, gentle, flowing channel to your heart. And from that space is the energy of your heart and your vision. I want you to imagine inside a portal forming. It could be a glowing archway or door or even a Stargate-like portal. All that energy creates this threshold to your inner vision space. A few more breaths. Imagine floating to your portal. It glows and radiates warmth and safety. This is your special space. When you're ready, I want you to go through the portal into your inner vision space. This is the space where your vision lives, your path, everything that you are working towards with everything, with your heart and your actions and your connections. This is the space that symbolizes your vision, and everything in there is in you, is your vision. Let's experience it with our senses. First, I want you to focus just on touch. Maybe you can touch something. There's a certain feeling in your hands. Maybe you can feel some breeze or warmth or coolness. And just soak that in. Let that be there. Experience it. And then let's shift to smells. Are there any smells in the air? Special smells, important smells for your path. And now put your attention to your ears. Do you hear anything? What do you hear? And now I want you to use your inner eyes to see the space. Really see it. What are the colors? What are the patterns? What kind of objects or beings do you see? Is someone there with you? Just look around in the foreground, what is close by, and in the background. Do you see any movement? And now just take in the whole space. What if this space had words? What would it say to you? What words come in? What message does it have for you?
Do you want me to share? Or
I think we'll do it after. So everyone, because this is a limited time slot for our life, I know you probably want to stay a little longer, but know the space is within you whenever you need it. So I would like you to come back out for now, back into your body. Feel your body, your feet, your sit bones. Wiggle your hands, and then you can open your eyes and come back to here.
Ah, different portal.
It was a little bit different.
No, no, no. I'm saying I'm back to this portal now, but I do
Oh, yes, I
portal.
see.
Yeah,
This portal,
this portal now.
the portal to talk to me.
Yes, exactly. We're in the Maria portal right now.
Hmm, that's beautiful. Yeah. Um, anyone listening, if you did the meditation, feel free to share in the chat if you what you saw. But I think Makenzie, what do you want to do? Do you want to share first, or do you want me to show what I painted and then talk about it while people can see it?
Yeah, why don't you share the painting and then we
Okay,
can
then we can talk about it. All right, it's right here in the back.
maybe
Still on my big block. Here we go. Let's see.
my goodness, beautiful.
Yes, there we go. Let me go to the back a little bit.
Yeah, that's
There we
beautiful.
go.
So yeah, I mean, there you have the eagle and the condor, which is really bridging the ancient wisdom with the modern world, and I think that that's what I'm here trying to do. And so the vision really brought me into this beautiful, beautiful landscape of nature where it's kind of rolling hills and then off, to the distance is the ocean, which is painted there. And my vision was just how healthy and how beautiful Earth and Mother Earth is and how much she provides for us. And the smells in the air were of like the herbs and the ocean breeze and um, the fires that were happening, in the different villages there, because people were gathering in different tribes. Like we really have come back to tribalism and ritual and ceremony. And so having the sounds of the crackling fire and the smell of those bonfires happening, and then hearing children laughing and hearing people singing around those campfires, really returning to the village and to the arts and to the songs that have been passed down through generations. um, and then also kind of seeing some like robots, roll by these campfires and allowing us, more time to uh, spend with our families and with our tribes as they, help us build and sustain a brighter and more modern world. And then, to the left there at the bottom is my council. And so I think the people that are kind of glowing there are my council of people, my chosen family, my fellow movement makers who have helped birth this new reality that we're all in. I think that's my counsel as the movement maker movement of how we all come to the table and kind of dream how this modern day eagle and condor prophecy has come into place. So yeah, really beautifully done, Maria. Thank you so much. You captured everything that I had brought up. It's really a beautiful painting.
Yeah.
And I'll
I would
say,
like to
excited.
talk a little bit. I don't know if I can share this, if that's okay with you.
Go for it. Open
The
book.
whole part about the council.
Mhm.
Because I remember when we did, let me put this down, it's getting a little heavy. I remember when we were going in there and you told me that you felt a little bit of overwhelm And, there's so much to do. There's so much, you know, like it's so big of a vision, right? And kind of giving some space to this, well, you don't have to do this alone, right? Bringing in this idea of you don't have to do this alone. You can create your council, right? And bringing the council into your vision. Um, I thought that was a really pretty big shift because you said you felt quite differently after.
Yeah, I think probably a lot of movement makers can feel that. I think that that's a very normal thing for, and also the evolution of like you finally realizing like, oh, I don't have to hold all of this alone. And I'm just a shard of God. Like we all have a piece to this puzzle, right? And so being able to lean upon others who have different gifts than mine, that I don't have to hold that so heavily. And again, that's
Mm-hmm.
big, so much of my vision for Movement Maker is bringing those movement people together so we don't have to hold that
Right,
much.
right.
I was talking about this on another podcast. It was interesting because I had a psychedelic journey where Jesus Christ came, and I was walking the stages of the cross with him, and I was realizing that like I think movement makers actually have a lot in common with Jesus Christ, which Jesus was the first movement maker, really, one of them, right? And again, we're all shards of God, and I'm not calling myself Jesus Christ at all, but I think that, movement makers can really um, feel into that his life. Like he was born, he had this greater calling that didn't even feel like his own, right? Like he had this mission that
Mm-hmm.
was just calling him, and he just had to have his life as an offering. And then, he had to walk the stages of the cross and be resurrected into something even larger than himself, which so many movement makers have to go through this dark night of the soul and like walk through their own pain to find their purpose. But the reason I bring this up is because he even had his 12 apostles. And so
Mm-hmm.
he couldn't do it on his own. Like he literally had his counsel to
Yep.
be there. And I think it's also interesting because there was Judas who betrayed him in that council. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a really important lesson too, is that that is the human condition. Like you will
Yeah,
find
and
betrayal within your councils as well. And how do you deal with that?
yeah, and still have that love that, even the
Exactly.
person that betrayed you, is still part of your council and still part of your chosen family.
And I'd even say they're probably one of the most important council members because,
Mm-hmm.
as you know, like the people that trigger you the most are the teachers here, and only, make your medicine stronger if you're paying attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. The struggle will help you grow. Where you find the edges, that's where you can grow, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can see anyone said anything. Let's see. Oh, what a beautiful vision,
Oh, thank you.
Carolina said. And Carolina also said, I resonate so much with all of what you shared. Makenzie, thank you. This is
Thank you.
Carolina Vilka.
Thank you both. Thanks. I really, really appreciate that. And yeah, if people feel the call, I mean, please do find my Substack and just be part of my community because I'm calling all of you change makers out there. We need to band together.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you have a beautiful vision, connect with me. We can either do a live together or, work one on one. And I've definitely gonna link all of everything where they can find you, Makenzie. Also your podcast, so you'll have to send me that link as well. is there anything else you would love to um, share or talk about um, that might be helpful for our listeners, viewers?
Yeah, so let's see. Actually, tomorrow I am hosting a free event from 5 to 7 p.m. Pacific time called Birth the New Earth. And I'll be going through like what movement makers need to know about how to build movements with the roadmap to actually bring that into fruition using ancient wisdom and modern strategy. I've already got about 40 people signed up and a Facebook group. So it's a great opportunity for other change makers to find other potentially co-creators. So please do go to globalmovementmaker.com/incubator and you can sign up for that event. Would love to see you there. I also have a free quiz that's really fun and also really eye-opening that will tell you which movement maker archetype you are. So you can just go again to globalmovementmaker.com, and that quiz is right there. And as Maria said, I have started this amazing podcast called The Call to Rise that comes out every Tuesday morning, where I'm interviewing luminaries and having them share their lessons, hard-earned wisdom from the movements that they've built. Um, and yeah, if you want to check out my coaching, if you're in that liminal space and want someone to help, help you walk that threshold and get more clarity, I'm very happy to connect with you. Please just schedule a time on my calendar. I'll do 30-minute free calls just so we can feel each other out. And I just want to plug Maria. I've really, really enjoyed working with you, Maria. And I look forward to hopefully telling all of my movement maker folks that come through the incubator program. I think it's an incredible, as you say, anchor to have an actual portrait of your vision. And I would highly recommend them putting that right near their altar to be able to
Mm-hmm.
tune with that spirit of your business and your movement. So thank you for
Yeah,
that.
thank you. All right. Well, we have 10 more minutes, but I think we don't have to do the time.
Okay.
If we've said what we wanted to say. Yeah, I'm very, very happy that you joined. I have to say, my second live, a new journey.
Yay,
Stepping
congratulations.
out. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to congratulate you for it's a big thing, especially going live. A big thing that I talk about in my Movement Maker Incubator is overcoming the fear and also that visibility. And so it's taken a
Mm-hmm.
lot for, even myself to like be live like this. And such a reminder to, you don't have to be perfect. I think that, part of the revolution is to actually show your messy humanness.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be perfect. Just show up as your authentic self.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's been taking a while. I probably wouldn't have done it a year ago, but um, yeah, and yeah, I'd love to work with other movement makers on their visions and portray their visions and really like feeling into that from this more symbolic and subconscious kind of way and visual way. And yeah, maybe we can also work together on something with your incubator.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would love it. We'll keep the
all
door
right,
open.
for sure. Well, thank you again. And let me just quick peek if someone asked anything. Nope, nobody said anything. All right. Thanks everyone for watching, and thank you. And till next time.
Till next time. Thanks, guys.